A word that gets talked about a lot is grace. The best definition that I ever heard for grace, thank you, Jason Peebles, if you're out there. Best definition of grace I ever heard. God's ability and enabling power. Now I heard that and it really, this was in the 90s. This was 25 years ago, maybe more. And it just kind of rang strong inside me. I didn't realize until lately, actually, there's more to the story of that definition of grace. God's ability and enabling power. Now, those of you that follow this channel, you know I don't really like the word God. It's not our Father's name. It's not his title. He said, don't take my name in vain. Or a more literal translation, in my opinion, is don't take my name and bring it to nothing. And that's kind of what has been done. I mean, we took his name, somebody took his name and covered it up with L-O-R-D, all caps. But that's another story. Grace, back to grace. Our Father's, can we use that word? Our Father's ability and enabling power. Now, what did Yeshua do? Whatever he saw the Father do. His Father, your Father, my Father. He only did what he saw the Father do. He only said what he heard the Father say. Grace. The Father's ability. Wow. What kind of ability does Big Daddy have? He's big and he's my daddy, and that's why I call him Big Daddy. You know, I say that all the time. What kind of ability does he have? Whoa, unlimited. You could spend a few billion millennia talking about his abilities and not even scratch the surface, so we're not going to go there, but just try to imagine what abilities does our Father have? Whoa. Now, he can't do anything. He can't lie. He can't override our will. They, Elohim, the Father, the Son, the Spirit, the breath of the Father, the Spirit of the Father, they, Elohim, they gave man dominion. So we, man, male men and female men, mankind, we have dominion. So there's this interesting more to the story of grace that has hit me fairly recently, and I just wanted to touch it. Grace, our Father's ability, whoa, and enabling power. Yeshua only said what he heard the Father say. He only did what he saw the Father do. When he said what he heard the Father say, that was the power that enabled him to be in position for the Father's abilities to flow through him. Did you get that? Our Father's ability and enabling power. It's the power that enables those of us that are willing to humble ourselves as his little children. It's the power that enables his little children to operate within the Father's ability. It's 5:30 in the morning. I don't know if you can hear this. The sun is not even close to coming up. Don't see any light out. And the roosters are crowing. Something about crowing roosters. The Father's ability and enabling power, grace. The power to enable his little child to operate in his abilities. Yeshua said, these works that I do shall they do. But the first church age, the first church, the first letter to the 7 churches in Revelation 2 and 3, the very first one, the first church age, representing the first church age. There are a lot of levels to those letters, but I'm just picking this one out. That first church age left. The only thing that he said correctively toward them was, you left your first love. You guys have done great, but you left your first love. Up until leaving their first love, the very beginning of the called out ones, translated as church, the very first however many years that was until they left their first love. And I'm sure it wasn't just like, hey, let's leave our first love today. It wasn't like that. It was a gradual, I would assume, slowly moving away from being enticed with our minds to focus on this and focus on that, and we got to do this and we got to do that, we got to be religious and we got to make sure we give to the poor and we got to make sure we do this and that, and all of a sudden we find ourselves, we do it today, to find ourselves in this situation where, where's Daddy? He's right where you left him. If in fact he was your first love, and you look around and he's not now, he didn't leave us. When we find ourselves in that position, it means we left him. We left our first love. So, find our way back to first love. This is how the called out ones, the church, is going to find their way back to, these things that I do shall you do, and greater things shall you do. There's a level of truth in that. Those early church people that were first lovers of the Father, they did the things that Yeshua did. You know why? Because they had first love with the Father. They sat in an alone time with him, just like Yeshua did. They heard what the Father said. They said what the Father said. They saw what the Father did and was doing, and they did the same things. I'm convinced the guy at the gate, beautiful, the crippled man that was there as a beggar, been there for a long time, decades, Yeshua had to have walked by him. He was there every day. I mean, that was his spot. That was his job. That's all he could do. Ask for alms, gifts. That'd be humbling, wouldn't it? Wow. But the day that Peter and John walked by this guy, Peter knew, ho, stop. The breath of the Father is speaking. and the humble guy, Peter said, look at us. Now he's standing up here, and the humble guy just, he's crippled. He's on the ground on his little mat or whatever, and he just, Look at us. And he lifted up his eyes. Some of you guys will get that. He lifted up his eyes and heard the Father's words. Peter said them, but Daddy said them first. Peter heard them and re-said them. We did a video talking about the two-edged sword. Father speaking, Yeshua speaking, and what the Father spoke, and Yeshua as a man re-spoke, it was. When Peter first loved Peter, during that early time of the called out ones church age, when first love was still in action and it was still moving forward, Peter's attention turned to that man, said, "Look upon us. I don't have any silver, I don't have any gold, but what I do have, I give to you. Rise up and walk in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Messiah." And he took his hand and raised him up. And wow. Can you imagine that guy? Can you imagine that guy? That was grace. That was the Father's ability. Remember, Yeshua said, "My Father does the works." Daddy's ability flowing through us, grace, the power that enables us to operate in Daddy's abilities. But there's a key. First love. Without first love, don't have access to that ability. You don't have access to the power that enables one to operate as conduit. Conduit is a tube that they put electrical wire in so that power can come from the source and turn on lights at the end of the wire. Conduit is merely that holds the power cord. Power at one end, light at the other. We're to be salt and light. That requires first love. Seek first the kingdom of the Father and his right ways. That requires first love. What is first love? It's a lot of things. It's the first part of our day. Getting with the Father, sitting with him, just like Yeshua did. Sometimes he'd pray all night long. Just sit and communicate with the Father. Alone. Grace. Our Father's ability and enabling power. The power that enables us to operate in the abilities of our Father, that we as conduit may be light, saying what he says, the power source himself, doing what we see him doing. But the catch is first love. First part of your day, first thing you think about. When we first love Daddy, we get to see the facets of his being. We get to see the ways of the kingdom. We get to access his wisdom and his understanding. Wow. Church is not a one day a week gather up somewhere so that you can be fed thing. It's not that. It's, Daddy, your name is amazing. Your name, wow. Your name, woo. Your kingdom come, your will be being done here just like it is there. Give us this day our daily food. We're to be fed by the Father himself. We're to be his little children, tutored personally by the Father. But here's a catch. First love. Grace, our Father's ability and enabling power, the power that enables us to operate in his abilities. If in fact, he's our first love. That's going to be one of the keys of the harvest that's coming. I'm going to say the harvest that is. And the rooster stopped. As soon as I called attention to them out there crowing for no reason, no lie, they stopped immediately. Love you guys. See you soon. Be well.